The Property Pod. Welcome to The Property Pod with Moneyweb. The property sector is an ever-changing sector. And in this podcast series, your host, Suren Naidu, chats to movers and shakers in the property industry.
Welcome to The Property Pod, South Africa's premier property investor podcast. Hello to our podcast listeners and Moneyweb readers. My name is Suren Naidu, and on this weekly show, we gain insider insights from leading CEOs, analysts, developers, and entrepreneurs in the country's expansive property industry. A number of landmark properties have gone on auction or have been put up for sale in SA over the last year. We reported that some major mall assets in the Rebosis portfolio were on sale last year and have since been sold, highlighting a lot of activity in the sales and M&A market, or a lot of M&A in the sector, as it were. Another prime property was the Sandton Gautrain station site that's above the station and links to Sandton's library and onto Nelson Mandela Square. Brawl Auctions and Sales handled that deal in particular. And on the podcast today, we have Norman Rod, the CEO of Brawl Auctions and Sales, to talk to us about the auctions industry and update us on some of the big deals that they've been involved with. A very warm welcome to the Property Pod, Norman.
Thank you, Suren. Nice to be on your show.
Just to kick it off, how is the auctions market doing currently? Has there been a pickup with a lot more activity over the last year or so?
Yeah, across the board, there's been a lot of uncertainty over the last year. I think people were waiting for the outcome of the elections, and there just wasn't enough good signs for some sort of property stability, as you would call it. But let me tell you, over the beginning of this year, we've seen a massive increase in activity. Telephones are ringing, people are inquiring. And I think overall the sentiment is, with some of the indicators, that the interest rates will come down in the near future. And if the government got their act together and this coalition is sorted out, or this government of national unity is sorted out and everything works out, I think you're going to have a tremendous uptick in interest towards property investments, overseas international investors finding confidence and finding themselves looking at South Africa as a good place to invest their money and to look at some long-term positions. We're very excited. We've seen an uptick in the number of people that are participating in our auctions, and in particular, the last auction that we had, where there were a number of properties that were taken and sold and confirmed. I know with our competitors, they've also had some successful auctions. So overall, the auction industry has definitely seen some uptick, even though that the property market has seen some difficult and uncertain times. I'm very positive and confident that in the near future, we're going to see a lot more activity, and it bodes well for our sector.
Well, the GNU is one topic, but interest rate is something the industry will pay particular attention to. But there are some positive signs. The fuel price is going to come down again, and that is a key factor in inflation and that sort of thing. But with your business, why opt for auctions as opposed to normal sales? Because I understand you call it yourselves Brawl Auctions and Sales, so you do handle normal sales as well.
Yeah, so our business in particular is divided up into basically 50% private treaty and tenders, and 50% of the properties are sold on auction. And auctions work well because you leverage off the marketing aspect of our business. At the end of the day, we are property experts in the commercial field. We obviously do take some residential properties to the market, but we have a platform which is a marketing platform, and we use that to get the properties out there, to pedestal the properties, to make sure that it's fully exposed across the board. And that's what we try and do through our marketing platform. And the exposure that it creates and it gets, and the interest that it creates competition. The sellers get to the entire market, whereas private treaty, sometimes you're a little bit limited with getting out there and reaching the entire market, whereas the auction platform really doesn't leave any stone unturned and gets to the entire market base from our database and through the digital marketing platforms that not only our company, but that everyone uses and leverages off in today's market. I think that's how we get to everyone. So I think auctions is the way to go if you want to sell your property. Unless you really want to keep it really discreet and you don't want anyone to know about your property being sold, that is most definitely the preferred way to sell to get the maximum value.
I saw on your site or media release regarding other positive aspects that maybe people not in the industry might not be aware of, but I saw something around the lines of, when you sell on auction, the buyer pays the commission as opposed to, like a normal real estate. Is that applied across the spectrum, or is it particularly for commercial property?
So on the auction platform, the buyer pays the commission. Normally, it varies between 5 and 10%, and the value of the property. But it's the auction industry, and the norm is for the buyer to pay the commission over and above the bid price. The auction also, what I never discussed earlier, it's a cash offer. It's not subject to finance. It's an unconditional offer that is presented with a 10% deposit that gets presented to the seller on the fall of the hammer. So it's not a suspensive offer on raising finance. That's another pro for auctions. And the last thing is, and the most important, I think what everyone wants, it's a line drawn in the sand, and it's much quicker than a normal private treaty sale. So those three, commission paid by the buyer, a line drawn in the sand where it happens within a month, and it's a non-suspensive cash offer, that talks to the sellers and what makes auctions really, a much easier way to transact than waiting for due diligence, waiting for finance, and only dealing with one particular buyer at a time, where we can deal with almost every single one in the market until the auction day or until someone submits an offer on auction terms.
So it comes to the juicy side of the interview, as it were, which people would want to know, considering the brand Brawl, some of the big auctions that it's been involved with, particularly over the last year or so. One of them, as I cited earlier, was the Sandton Gautrain property. How was that sale that was handled earlier this year? Is it through? Do you have an update for us on that and perhaps any others?
Yes, so remember that property was a tender process. It was run on tender, and it was on the instruction of the liquidators, joint liquidators. And the process ran for about 5 months. It was an expensive marketing process. I mean, we really went international. We went through to investors from abroad, throughout Africa and through to the Middle East, through all our network and through our database and our reach and our offices across the different areas where we are actually based. And we've had a lot of interest. I think the campaign went tremendously well. We had a huge amount of interest and inquiries. And, once we'd run the process, obviously there were a number of offers that were presented, and the preferred bidder has now been identified. And the process is beginning with a more in-depth due diligence, which was needed for this process. And, at the end of the day, that the offer, I don't really think it's my place to talk about the amount that was achieved. I think it's still, while it's in the due diligence process and subject to all those other boxes that need to be ticked, I think I'd like to just leave it at that. But at the end of the day, we are very happy with what the outcome. We are very happy with the process, and we are very happy with what's going to happen in Sandton if this follows through. I mean, we've had a number of high or very important players in the industry participate. And I think what you're going to find is that the buyer is going to eventually integrate with the owners of Sandton City and Sandton Square, and as well as the Gautrain itself. And they could have something really special and an upliftment in the area, a lot of investment, a lot of good things that will be happening for the Sandton node. If this carries or goes through. And I think I like to believe it's going to go through, because a lot of work has been done and a lot of effort has been put in to eventually being the successful and the preferred bidder.
Well, obviously, you say it's being finalized, but a little bit more detail. Was it a local player or international player? Obviously, you can't mention the name, but also if you say you're happy, that means you got a good deal.
Yeah, so I think overall the liquidators were very satisfied with the outcome, and obviously that means talking to the price. not as they obviously didn't achieve what they would like to have achieved. But given the market and given the uncertainties with the development and what needs to go about to make it work, I think both buyers and the sellers are quite satisfied with the outcome. The buyers are local. They're a local investment company, and they would most probably have something really special. And like I said, I think in all likelihood, they're going to be partnering with a number of other very high-profile development companies to make something really special on that site.
Well, it's something to watch because that is a mixed-use site, and I know there was a bit of controversy with the former owners and how that was picked up, but I've covered the industry for a long time, and I know in an interview a few years ago, good old Bart Dorenstein complained to me that, when it was on sale by the city of Joburg, they would have wanted to get that site, but they weren't even allowed to bid there. So it would be interesting to see who comes in there and who eventually buys that site.
The beauty of this is that everyone had an opportunity to participate, including Bart. And we really had almost every significant developer and fund, whether it's a pension fund or property fund, make inquiries and do some investigation and do their homework and run their feasibilities and participate to a certain extent of the process. So, at the end of the day, the highest and the most likely buyer, preferred bidder that has come out, I think they've done a tremendous job of what they put together. And I think overall, not only the liquidators, but ourselves, we're quite satisfied with the outcome.
Norman, do you have any other highlights of other landmark properties before we go on to upcoming sales?
And we've got a number of shopping centres, but we also have possibly the best berry farm in the KZN for sale at the next auction. It's just over 30 hectares of about 26 hectares of berries that are grown and avos, about 6 hectares of cultivated avos, yielding about 6 to 10 million rand of income a season, a crop. And I think, that's not usual where a property like this, with all the infrastructure and everything else that has been done to it, comes to the market. Farms like this, cultivated farms like this are like hen's teeth. And I think there's going to be a lot of interest. And we could have a very, very successful auction. Again, it's for some other reasons the property is being sold. But it's not something that would normally find its way to the market. And, we're looking forward to that sale. And then there's some shopping centres around the country that are for sale in rural townships and in Pretoria. I think that's where the clever money is going to be going into. I think there's going to be a lot of growth in that sector, or if that hasn't already been happening, I think in the outlying shopping centres and in the farming side, I think if you can snap up some opportunities with the declining interest rates, which we believe is going to be happening, I think property overall, I think we've gone through a really difficult time. I think it's at an all-time low, and I think we can really look forward to working with the government and trying to make this a better place for everyone to do better things, certainly in our industry.
Norman, I have to ask, because we reported on that sale or the planned auction on that berry farm in the KZN Midlands. You say it's an operating farm. You didn't share too much on why it's being put up for sale. So it's not a case of a distressed sale, as it were.
So let me just put it to you this way, that there are partners and there's a separation of partners. So that's at the end of the day. There's for no other reason. There's a partnership that is going to be dissolved, and we've been asked to run the process for them.
Thanks for that. Norman, before you go, just a little bit about Brawl Auctions and Sales. How is it has grown over the years to establish itself as one of the major players in the market. That Brawl Auction and Sales is a separate business, but, there is also the overall Brawl Group that's involved in other sides of the property sector. And this is basically your individually run business. So if you want to give us a little bit of insight onto the group and its growth.
Sure. So I'm been in the auction industry for close on 25 years. And I'm very fortunate to be part of a multinational group such as the Brawl Property Group, which has very different service offerings, which include facilities management, property management, occupier services, valuations, leasing. So from our point of view, we're just an extension of their service line for the property group itself. Brawl Property Group is over 45 years old. It was started by the founder, Jonathan Brawl, and he's morphed this business into something really substantial and massive, and we are represented in almost every single city and town. So for our auction business, which looks after the sales part of Brawl, the assets for clients and for the listed funds and private individuals, our platform just offers another service line for the Brawl Property Services Group. And we're proud to be part of it. I think, we're proud of what we stand for and our core values and how we run our business. We're client-centric. And, our business over the last 10 years, being partners with Brawl Property Group, myself, it's been an unbelievable journey. It's been an exciting one. It's been great to be part of something that is so well known across not only South Africa, but Africa and including the Middle East, where I think there's been big expansion plans. And we look forward to carry on growing. I mean, we really are doing nicely. We're doing well as a company, as a group. And Brawl Property Group is doing nicely with us as our partners.
And how big is the group? You talk about representation in several cities and even in the Middle East, but just in terms of scale, perhaps how many people that are part of the team?
Yeah, so I think employees, there are about over 2,000 employees for the group. I think they're represented in over 17 countries in Africa. They got offices now and expanding into the Middle East. We are an associate partner. We are partners with Cushman Wakefield International Group. And we represent them on all their occupier services side. And so, the offices, we have offices in almost every town. We got representation, but offices in Cape Town, in Port Elizabeth, in Durban, in Pretoria and Johannesburg. So for the company, it's easily for us to attend to the requirements and needs of clients almost within 24 hours or 48 hours to get to any of them, their properties, and provide some kind of feedback or service to them. We're on the evaluation part. We do valuations for almost every single listed property fund, which is a requirement in terms of the legislation. And we are well represented. I mean, I think just in every division, I can't tell you the number of people that are employed in each division, but in our division, we're close to just Brawl auction business. We're close to 40 people. So, that's more or less the breakdown of our company. And, we have a really good culture. We've got an association with the Wits University, where we have an internship program that comes through our business. They train, they learn, and they go on to become specialize in different fields in the property sector. I sit on the Wits advisory board of the property engineering faculty. So it's a good stepping stone for people to learn and to come through our business. And, that's our basic value system is trying to train and teach youngsters coming through into the industry and letting them find their niche and their expertise and what they love and like to do. And eventually maybe they'll be sitting globally representing Brawl.
Norman, you can hear the passion there. I really appreciate your time on the podcast. That was Norman Rod, the CEO of Brawl Auctions and Sales.
Thanks for listening to the Moneyweb Property Pod with Suren Naidu. To listen to more episodes, go to moneyweb.co.za or the Moneyweb app and follow Moneyweb News for daily updates. Follow Suren on Twitter @Suren Naidu for more of his property industry content and other business stories. The Property Pod.